Hello everybody, it is Monday morning. It's about 6:15. I am on my drive for my commute to work. Such is life. I wanted to talk to everybody today about wages. This $15 an hour and living wages and so on and so forth. So stay tuned in because it's going to be interesting. I have some things to say. May rally some feathers. It may tickle you a little bit. We'll see. So everybody's talking about this $15 minimum wage, which would a little bit more than double our current minimum wage. I do mind it and I don't mind it at the same time. And there are reasons why I mind it, which we'll cover a little bit later. There's a reason I don't mind it. So, corporate America is really what drives our current payroll situation. So, what I want you to start thinking about right off the bat here is payroll. Any business that you run, payroll is the most controllable and most expensive part of many businesses. That being said, I think that a minimum wage increase is bad. Let me back up. So a minimum wage increase that would double our current minimum wage is bad, in my opinion. So, what does that mean? I think $9 an hour would be more than sufficient. Most companies that are out there right now are paying $9+. If they're paying you less than $9 an hour, they're not doing you any favors. Pretty simple. It is so difficult to live off $7.25 an hour that is strictly a poverty wage. But it is also not meant to be a living wage, it's meant to be a starting wage. So if we raise from $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour, that's not only going to raise your bottom employees' wages, that's going to raise everybody else's wages as well. A lot of people's going to ask why. I've put a lot of thought into corporate America, and a lot of people seem like they're scared to get into a sales job where they're like, this multi-level marketing, it's a pyramid scheme. Well, welcome to life. Everything you get into is a pyramid scheme. You have a lot of people at the bottom making a little bit of money. You have a next group that makes a little bit more, not as many people. And then you have another group, not as many people again, making more money. And it keeps going like this all the way up to the top, right? So some of your other people that are making a little bit of money are your shareholders, if it's a publicly traded company. If not, that part of the pyramid does not exist, and it kind of shrinks the pyramid a little bit. But most companies that I've worked for do have shareholders, which you have to pay them. And the CEO makes a lot of money. I've been in a couple companies where, I've looked at chief operating officers and people just under the CEO, and they make my annual salary in 1 week. I want you to think about that. So, how, I don't want to say it's unfair, because these people have built their lives off of experience. And, they do deserve to get paid for it. But the wage gap between the lowest paid employee and the highest paid employee, which is usually a CEO, is phenomenal. These companies could afford to pay people better. Now, there was an example, and I don't remember what company it was, but a company decided that he was going to lower his income in order to pay each and every one of his employees at least $70,000 a year. Didn't work out well for him. His lifestyle had to change. But we get used to where our lives are. We got to live within our means, right? So this person had to adjust his lifestyle in order to pay his employees better. Well, some of his employees got mad. They've been there longer than others. Now they're getting paid the same. Right. I get it. You go to a company, you work your tail off, and next thing you know, everybody's getting paid the same or more than you. I've seen that example in nearly every job I've been in. So, competitive wages are something that needs to happen, not a minimum wage increase. What competitive wages do is it forces companies to be more transparent on their pay levels. And every single job you go to, whether it's the military or what, has different pay levels, right? There's steps. And you got to work your way up to the top. So the minimum wage would be your beginning, but we don't have a maximum wage. And I don't think the answer is going to be capping CEO wages. I don't. I think that as a country, though, we need to have a mindset change. And I don't want to go towards a socialist nation as far as wages go, because once you start telling these companies, well, you got to pay, or your wages are too high. No. But let's look at the productivity side of things and bonuses. And I mean, a CEO who's making multi-million dollars a year is getting bonuses. Are your employees getting bonuses? Mr. CEO, I'd like to ask you how much your employees' health care costs. I mean, things don't get a lot more expensive on the way up the ladder. The more you make, the more you spend. I mean, that's a given principle. But I do think that there is a better way to take care of our employees without increasing wages. I think that if a company is going to work you and pay you a decent living wage, at least they could do is take care of your family. A lot of employers these days, they ask you to work an ungodly amount of hours. And that's because they're trying to keep their payroll low. And that's the reason for salary. A salaried employee can work 50, 60, 70 hours a week and not have to be paid overtime. If you're a person like me, that might irritate you a little bit. I work 50 to 60 hours a week, sometimes more. Most of the time, not any less. This week, I'm working a little bit more. I leave my house around 5:30. I have to commute to another store location down in Greenfield. It's about an hour and a half drive. I don't see any benefit wage-wise for helping my company because I'm salaried. If I was hourly, I would clock in when I leave, clock in when I return. I would get that hourly wage. Now, I accepted my salary. I signed the paperwork saying, yeah, that works for me. That's my choice. I accepted it. I'm not going to complain about it. Would I like to make more money? I think everybody would like to make more money. But I don't think that raising the minimum wage is going to fix an issue. What's going to happen is they're going to raise the minimum wage, and now the CEOs aren't going to want to take a pay cut. You're not going to want to take a pay cut, so they're going to have to raise pricing. So now that cheeseburger that you get at McDonald's for $1.49 just became $3. So when you price a product, there's many things that go into factor of that. How long does it take to produce? How long does it take to deliver? What does your quality control look like? Okay? That all favors into payroll. So when you look at selling a product, you have to calculate your payroll. You have to know what you need to sell a product for in order to make money. So you have production costs and things like that. So even a retail store, you have production cost. And somebody's saying, well, a retail store that doesn't manufacture clothing has a production cost, Brad? That doesn't make sense. What are they producing? They are producing an atmosphere. So you have to have somebody who can do the merchandising, somebody that makes the store presentable, that prices things, that makes sure things are set on the shelves correctly, make sure that your weights and measures are in order. Everything has a production cost. So it doesn't matter whether you're the manufacturer, it doesn't matter whether you're just a seller, but there's a production cost, there's a setup cost, merchandising costs. So all that has to be factored in to what you're going to be able to afford to pay your employee to still make a profit on a product. I've worked in a parts store before, and one of the things that was factored into our pricing was delivery cost. Sure, you can put an entire pallet on a semi and deliver that, but now you have something factored in as delivery cost. There's some places that use FedEx and UPS to get their products to their location, but that still costs money. So, and then if it's a company-owned tractor trailer, now you have maintenance costs, and all that has to be factored into what you're going to sell your product for. Now, if you have a lot of different products, what that does, it absorbs some of that cost because you can spread it out over a farther margin, but you still have to calculate that cost. Now, me personally, as far as competition, I don't mind raising the minimum wage. I think that we're behind. I think that the minimum wage should be higher. Like I said, $9 an hour would probably be a good point on that. I really don't know how to accurately display what I think needs to happen, but I think that we need to have a discussion as a nation. So through this, I'm going to get a little political. So the government, in all of their glory, wants to tell us what we can make. So, do we cap wages too? Do we cap bonuses? No. I just think we need to deregulate the pay system. There's too many taxes. So a quarter of my paycheck or more goes to federal income tax, Indiana state income tax. You have your local county tax. You have Social Security, Medicare, unemployment. I mean, and then on top of that, you have health insurance. I mean, you don't have to buy it that way. I buy my health insurance through Medishare. But let's look at the big picture. How much does all of that cost? If you look at it, there's like a third of your paycheck almost gone before you even see it. Now, somebody who's making $9 an hour and you're working $40, $50 a week or hours a week, your paycheck's gone. You can't afford these healthcare costs. You can't afford to pay taxes. But you get that saving grace refund at the end of the year every year, right? How long does that last to get you back on top where you need to be? It doesn't. I know, it doesn't. There's things you want to buy, there's things you enjoy, there's things that you want to do. You want to take care of your family, you know. But in that, as a nation, we do have awesome programs for training. In Indiana, we have next level jobs, and these help you with things for trade school and other things without spending buku bucks going to do college, right? I mean, look at our student loan program. It is out of control. I mean, we've already talked about student loans in a previous video. If you missed it, I encourage you to go back to it. And I talked about how they're planning to try to pass a bill to wipe everybody's student loans. Now, let's be honest about wiping student loans. They're not going to wipe everybody's student loans. They're going to pick how they want to do it. Anybody who makes under $100,000 a year, they're going to get $50,000 free forgiveness of their student loans. So, I mean, they have a plan to not help everybody completely, but you know, when you went to school to sign up for class and you said, hey, I need a student loan, you signed that contract. You committed to paying that money back. So there may be a penalty to that. So I want you to take a look at my previous video and see what I'm talking about a penalty. What does that have to do with wages? So I saw a gentleman on my Facebook list. He mentioned about the student loans and you know, somebody with a degree, what are they going to get paid? Well, funny you ask. So somebody who gets paid, sorry, my camera moved a little bit, the roads suck. So somebody who's going to get paid coming right out of school enough to be able to afford their student loans, I don't think so. Because not only do you have a student loan, but some of these people now have a family to provide for. You know, they want to get married, they want to enjoy their lives, they want to do things while they're young. And now they can't afford to do that because now they're paying $400, $500 a month in student loans. You can't even buy a house now because you're only getting paid $35,000 or $40,000 a year. So this is where it gets into, this really just, it eats me. So a person such as myself spent 7 years in the military, the United States Marine Corps, RA, and I got out of the Marine Corps. I went through a few different jobs in the Marine Corps. I deployed, and I absorbed so many skills, right? So in my thought process, it's going to be easy to land a factory job. It's going to be easy to land, a good paying job. So I worked with 3 or 4 different people, got my resume where it should be, dressed up nice, and I came home on leave. First thing happened. I put out about 100 resumes. I went to factories, I went to, all kinds of different places. And nothing happened. Nothing. Not even a phone call. I don't get it. So I said, you know what? I will apply in California where we currently lived at the time, and I will find a job here. Well, this is where I made a boo-boo. I had some admin experience, so I said I'll put that to good use. And I applied for an office manager and sales coordinator job, which I was pretty good at it. It took me a minute to get in the role of it and get out of my military leadership mindset. And I didn't really do A plus B equals C on wages. So mind you, I've already been an office manager for 3 years in the military. And they told me the position pays about $35,000 a year. I said, okay, I got a job. This job did not pay a living wage in Southern California. $35,000 a year. You can almost not make it on $35,000 a year in Indiana. Can you imagine the heart attack I had when I got my first paycheck and did the math? And I was like, man, I messed up so bad. My rent was $1,200 a month, and I couldn't afford to pay my bills. So our savings started to deplete. I mean, it wasn't gone, but it was getting there. Just because we were trying to get by. We weren't keeping the same lifestyle. But, I mean, we didn't change it a lot either. But, I mean, that's kind of our fault. So, in that, I decided I need to find a lower cost of living. My expenses were not in order. My payroll wasn't in order. Kind of like a business. So, we decided to move to Indiana. I found a job with Schwann's. And it was a decent paying job. But I was also enrolled in college. What that did for me is not a lot, because I ended up pretty tired pretty quick. I was a full-time college student. I was going to school online. And I was working from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So my commute was about 30 minutes each way. So you can imagine, I was leaving my house about 9. I like to be at work on time or early. You never know what's going to happen on the road. And I'd get home about 10:30, 11 o'clock after I ended my day and loaded my sales into the computer. So it kind of drove me nuts. So after that, I decided, well, I'm gonna do something that I know. Just car parts. So I started working for AutoZone, making $10.50 an hour. After 6 months, I got a raise, and albeit it was a quarter, but I was doing okay. I mean, cost of living in Indiana was low. My rent was $400 a month. I was renting a house at the time, and but I still had a half an hour commute. And it was costing me a lot in fuel. So I decided I needed to make a change. And I moved over to be a store manager for O'Reilly Auto Parts. And I started growing. I did pretty good. I graduated, and I said I'm going to try to use my degree in sales. I'm really good at sales. I'm good at talking to people. I can handle it. So I interviewed with multiple companies, multiple different ways, and a staffing agency picked me up. And I ended up taking a pay cut, and I thought, from how I was misled, that I was going to make 10% commission. Well, come to find out that 10% commission's net, not gross. So I worked my tail off to make the company a little over $1.5 million, and I got $49. That was my commission checks, $49. So now I work for an automotive company, repair facility. I love my job. I love working on cars. I love talking to people. I receive a fair wage. But it took me about 4 years to get where I'm at. So I started at the bottom after I got out of high school, and I was making, I don't know, probably right at $7 an hour working at Steak and Shake. Well, I got experience in fast food, but I got experience. So then I moved to Burger King, and I was doing pretty good there. Didn't really have any complaints or anything. I mean, I was working. I was a teen. I didn't want to work all the time, but if they asked me to come in, I worked. That's my work ethic. I will be there if you need me. And then one day I was driving through town, and I looked over and I saw this sign. It said United States Marine Corps, and I said, let's do it. So I made a change in my life so I could better myself. So I wasn't making minimum wage, and so I could actually make a living and support a family eventually. So I started out at a beginning wage, which was minimum wage. I had to restart again, but I didn't quite start at minimum wage. But I restarted, and I got myself to where now I'm more comfortable with my lifestyle. I have what I need, and I help other people grow in my shop. That's what I do. I mentor people. I train people. I help people. I don't want people to stick at the bottom. Everybody wants to make more money. Well, most people want to make more money. There's some people they're quite content where they're at. So all that being said, sounds like it was pretty easy, right? Well, all these companies have a set pay structure for a minimum and a maximum for really what you can make in that job. But everybody's asking for experience. My question to employers is, why not give somebody a chance? Why not train somebody to do the job? So what you're doing is letting these people go through trade school. You're letting them pay for college. They're investing in themselves, right? Why isn't the employers investing in training? Could you imagine, just imagine with me for a second, okay? You have a guy. He comes in, he interviews with you. I don't really have a lot of experience, but I tell you what, I can pick things up very fast. I'm that guy. I can teach myself about anything really quick. And I have some skills that I can't necessarily apply to a job and put on a resume. I understand how to run machines and things like that. I don't know how to do CNC, but guess what? I guarantee I can learn it pretty quick. So the fantastic part about that is I have skills. But they're not hireable skills because I don't have work experience. So as an employer, how do you justify looking at a candidate who doesn't have resumeable experience but still applied for that job? Maybe there's something in there. Maybe you should give them a call. Just sit down with them just to see what's there. If they're not a good fit for that position, maybe they'll be a good fit for another position that's close to it. Train them how you want them, treat them fairly, and watch them grow in your company and learn other skill sets. Sounds like a perfect world to me. Now, I get it. If somebody has zero experience in a job you're bringing them into, you can invest 100% into them on payroll. Are they going to produce right away? No. But why should it be somebody else's responsibility to train your employee? And then they come to you and you ask them to operate a certain way when they're already trained to operate a different way. How does that make sense? To not invest in somebody who has zero experience at a job, and you can train and grow that person how you want them. You may have to adjust your minimum wage for that position, for that particular person. But isn't that what an interview's for? Somebody who applies for the job and you're like, I don't know, his resume doesn't really fit. Maybe I should talk to him. Maybe I should give America a chance and see if maybe these people can work hard. Because guess what? If you give somebody the chance, a lot of times they're going to prove you that they can do it. I've applied for jobs that I know I had no chance in hell in getting. But guess what? I knew I could do the job. I'm very confident in my skills. I've seen what I can do. These people that I give my application to, they have my life in their hands, right? They don't see who I am as an individual. All they do is see a piece of paper. Why should we have to use a piece of paper to impress somebody? When I was in the military, I did not worry about what medals, awards, or what was coming to me because I had a job to do. When they came, I felt good about it. I was happy. I knew I earned it, right? And then in the civilian sector, you can't even get a chance. It just blows my mind. So all these people that have these hidden skills, the ability to learn, do not get a chance because we don't have experience. You're only wanting to hire people that are trained by somebody else. You don't want to invest in that. But if it's an odd job that there's not a lot of experience out there for, where do you expect that person to get trained? Do you take a chance? Think about it. The person that you turned away that was willing to take a lesser wage could have been the one to turn your company's profitability, your production, productivity, and your overall gross margin around. Now, this is where you're going to have to use your own common sense and not listen to mine. Because not everybody is going to be that perfect candidate. But you sit down with a candidate, you talk to them. They applied at your company for a reason. They're not just looking for a job or a handout. Most people want to work. They want to better themselves. I just don't understand why a company would not invest in somebody who has potential. Positions based on experience. Pay based on experience. Okay, I got it. But how about this? How about we come up with a pay plan that after I prove myself, you'll pay me an experienced rate. Nove Corporation here in Indiana. If you work for them and you want to learn how to weld, they will send you to welding school. You got to work for them for a certain period of time, otherwise you have to pay for that school. That is investing in your employees. You want them to be trained how you want the work to be done. That's why that program exists. Good job, Nove. Each person that you bring in, you expect them to stay. And you're paying that person a fair wage with hopes. And you're also providing them a schooling that costs $3,000. You're training that person to make a living wage. Now, if they work for you over a period of time, they don't have to reimburse Nove for that training. That is free to the employee. So not only did you give that person a skill, a job, living wages, some education. Now they have work experience. Are they going to stay with your company forever? I don't think so. Probably not. I mean, every employee is different. There's people that stay in a job for 40 plus years and they love it. But there's also people that want to move up. They want to do things different. Is it a waste of investment? I don't think so, because you have that person running how you want them to. They didn't have that experience before. That makes sense? All right, guys. I'm going to jump off here. Almost to Greenfield. I've been talking for 35 minutes. I kind of got a little agitated talking about employer experience, and I apologize, but that's where it's at. You know, I in my world, I give people an opportunity all the time. Opportunity. So I hope this resonates. I hope this gets shared, because this video itself could affect a lot of people. It's common sense. Take care of your employees, they'll take care of you. Take somebody off the street that doesn't know jack, guess what? They'll be your jack of all trades. It's the only way to say it, sorry. Anyway, you guys have a fantastic day. It's Monday. 2 more days till hump day. Hopefully my last commute. So I hope you all have a great day. And I love you all. Bye.